Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thanks for joining us today for which is our last presentation in this series. It's our ninth MySQL use case webinar for Tungsten Clustering. Today's topic is on zero downtime MySQL. Thanks to all of you who've joined us so far in the series. I'm joined by Eero Teerikorpi, our founder and CEO, who will present today. The session is recorded and we will make the recording available to you within the next couple of days. And feel free to ask any questions throughout the next while by using the Q&A section of your control panel. But for now, over to you, Eero.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is Eero Teerikorpi. I'm joining you today from Lake Tahoe region. As you can see, we got the recent snow. It's a winter coming here. Continuent is based in the Bay Area, but as a skier, I love to stay in this region from time to time. Today, we are focusing on a pretty interesting topic, zero downtime MySQL, and also kind of interesting customer of ours that they're providing a lottery game operation in the state of Kentucky, and they've been our customer quite a number of years. So let's get it to Continuent. If you may know, we are all about MySQL availability and MySQL continuous operation. That's the mission we've been since 2004, and we continue to remain on that path. Without availability, nothing else really matters, right? And Kentucky Lottery specifically, their requirement, as many online operations, is 24/7, 365 availability. These guys provide pretty significant funding for the local education, almost $4 billion during the past 20 years. And this is powered on open source MySQL database, and it actually runs on our database clustering solution. We will go a little bit deeper on that specific. But the main website, the KY Lottery, is the one that runs on top of our technology, and this includes the user IDs and lottery tickets, and effectively anything related to real money is powered and controlled and supported by Continuent. Obviously, they do want to do the maintenance operation as well, so that the downtime is not necessarily related to failure, whether it's the local failure or site level failure. It's actually quite often related to some sort of a maintenance operation that really needs to be done and focused. A couple of words of myself. Yes, besides the skier, I'm also the sailor, and I'm kind of living in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's pretty amazing for these hobbies. I've been around for a while. This is my seventh company, software company. I started a few companies back in Finland, and 30 years ago I moved to California, and I've been in MySQL related business since 2002. So I have a pretty nice, big, long history on this specific area. And besides our own solution and technology, Continuent Tungsten, one could call me as a godfather of a Calera, also known as an XDB cluster. This solution is based on the technology that was our first product back in 2004. We had a product called M-Cluster. At the time, we decided that that was not right path for the future, and we changed the strategy and the technology. Instead of relying on synchronous replication, we went asynchronous, which allowed us not only provide local availability, but also global availability for our solution. And yes, I'm a Navy officer and sailor. That's kind of my passion. And this applies back to my own business. I like to run a tight ship. And this you can see in a few comments later, how kind of focused we are in our customer support and customer success. So how do we fit in this overall marketplace? Cloud computing, open source databases, and have been able to build geographically scaling solution. We've seen the rise of both of these, both cloud and open source technologies since early days. That's the bet we made somebody looking back almost 20 years and wondering why would somebody expect that the MySQL ever would reach the level of requiring business critical or mission critical solution. That was the kind of foresight that we had, and we actually made the right choice. Our focus early on was to build a platform agnostic, meaning that you can run this on premises, on virtual environment, in the cloud. Highly available, availability was a key word, but also global scaling solutions. So being able to build these database clusters and connect them across the composite cluster means, like a cluster of clusters, was an important element from day one. Obviously, ability to run business in the cloud, significant, although back in 2004, that was almost non-existent. We are not the biggest company in this space. Marketplace has grown significantly, but we do not aim to be the biggest, never. But what we do aim is that we will be the best, whatever we choose to do. And that has been a goal and will be the goal going forward. And today, use case Kentucky Lottery, about provide these games, whether it's lottery games, some other games, available continuously without any downtime. The challenge starts with the availability, obviously. That's always the case with our customers. But there is this element of a disaster recovery. In order to provide continuous operation, you can't really rely on having a single site operation. You do want to have some geographic distribution and distance between the data services in order that something happens. And actually, the longer the distance, the better. But obviously, then there's some latency issues to be dealt with. Performance is important, and being able to handle the thousands, or in some cases tens of hundreds of thousands of people simultaneously remains a challenge, but that doesn't matter if the system is not available. But we do offer additional solution and enhancement on the performance side as well. And naturally, the cost. People are always considered what's the money, and when they have chosen a MySQL open source database, the kind of main premise is they started from the cost point of view, and we want to apply the similar mindset that yes, we are a commercial solution running on top of open source, but our pricing model closely aligns with the open source mindset. We'll come back to that a little later. Need for the availability, so that this is a continuous operation. So kind of availability comes having a local data service that can recover from for example, primary database failure automatically, and preferably sub-second level, and in such way that it would maintain the live application connections. And this is exactly what the Tungsten cluster does, so that we have elements of the primary database, Tungsten replicator, combined together, creating a 3-node cluster, built together with the Tungsten connector, which is the secret sauce to providing connectivity between application and data service. Tungsten connector effectively presents this data service as a single MySQL database to application. And then when you have multiple of these clusters, and you can do this, like in this case, have an active passive, so you have a secondary site available. It's basically up to date within a few seconds delay, depending on the replication volume, but nevertheless available. And then when that is also combined with Tungsten connector, and connectors are not only locally aware, they are globally aware. So that allows effectively build a data service that, from once again, application point of view, looks like one single database, even if this is 2 3-node clusters distributed remotely. And having these services available, obviously primary database is the one that takes all the updates, but then replicas can feed the read traffic. And when you have 2 sites, we can have an even higher level of read traffic available. So that's effectively scaling and providing a higher performance solution than taking and bringing the reads closer to potential users and reducing the latency in such a way. In Kentucky's case, all of this happens within the state of Kentucky, but we have customers like Riot Games, which has built a similar type of setup globally, having a primary database in Los Angeles, West Coast US, having an East Coast US, Europe, and Asia Pacific clusters. So effectively all the updates go to this primary database, yet local audience can read the data without much of a latency at all. And the continuous operation in Kentucky Lottery case is it's having these two relatively close but far enough data centers that each have this own data service, primary being in Louisville, Kentucky, and secondary data service in Frankfort, Kentucky. And should one of the data services go down, for example, Louisville is out of commission for whatever reason, we have basically in a few seconds have basically a Frankfurt site available. And these guys do site level switches regularly, because while you have this capability available, you also want to test that it actually works in real life. And I can demonstrate a little bit later how that actually works. But they do frequent enough site level failovers and then failbacks, all while keeping the actually customer servicing on the back end, which is nice. This is about the continuous operation on the maintenance cycle, and continuous operation during any type of a failure, local or global failure. This is the user interface that we can manage the Continuent data services. Tungsten Dashboard is a free component of part of our solution. It gives you a nice graphical view what exactly is going on. Like in this case, you can see that the primary cluster, primary database one is in Louisville, and it has two replicas. We have a secondary data site, Frankfurt, and it has a relay, which is effectively local primary database. This database is taking all the feed from the main primary database and then replicate locally there, so that having effectively 6 copies of data available for the read traffic and scaling, and also for the failure. And I'll show you a live demo. I'll walk through what the demo will be covering. Let's assume there is a failure, and in this case, the primary database fails, which is obviously the worst possible failure that can happen. Continuent software has an automatic failover capability, so that you can see already that database 3 has been promoted as a new primary database, and all the replication links between these two sites have been re-established in such way that the secondary site continues to operate. Even when the primary data failed, application users wouldn't see any type of a disconnect. There could be a short delay servicing, but whatever that after the reconfiguration of cluster took place locally in Louisville, the system just continues to operate. Obviously, we do not want to maintain situation that the primary site would only have 2 databases, because that is too risky. We have a capability to switch from one site to another. And in this case, that we have already executed the site level failover, promoting the secondary site as the main primary. And you can see that the old primary now is a relay, like one of the databases is still out of commission, shown, not servicing. And then secondary site has taken over. And then we will go through the steps where we promote the original primary that is now part of the relay cluster as a recovered member of that cluster. And then we go through the step that the promoting database 1 back to relay primary. It's still in the secondary site from the application's point of view. And then we finish the whole process by doing a failback to primary site. And we are back to position where the database 1 is the primary for the whole cluster, and Frankfurt is now again secondary side. So this is the demo that we are going to show you, and it's live. We like to keep these type of environments available for our own support needs. This is obviously not the the live cluster Kentucky Lottery is using, but it is a replica of that cluster so that you can see. So let's do artificial failure. We can stop data service at database 1. And let's come back here. As you can see, the database 1 failed, because obviously when we killed the MySQL database, there's nothing left. And then we go through the process where we promote the database. In this case, database 3 was automatically promoted as a new primary, and we are back in the operation. We have reestablished all the connections. It still shows an error status, obviously, but effectively, from the application point of view, there was a slight hiccup, but the operation just continued. But as indicated, this is not sustainable situation when we have a main data site, only 2 database servers, and if you lose one more, then it will be a single point of failure. So we do want to go through the process that we promote Frankfurt as the primary site with the 3 active database. And it's just as simple as doing a switch command on the global cluster level. This is one command, so we have site level failover is never automatic, it's automated, but it's automated to the level that it's just a single command, either from a command line interface that we also offer, and we do also have an API, so that you can control this using your own applications, but using a Tungsten dashboard, you just basically provide one single command switch. And this goes through the steps that it effectively goes and makes Frankfurt as a main site, promotes the database 4 as a primary database on that site, and have a local replicas there. And then we still have Louisville in the error state. There's 2 active databases providing a read traffic. So the database 3 is the relay server. And then the database 2 replica. Let's bring database 1 back. Let's assume that we figure out what the problem was on the database 1. Once again, with the single command recover, we can bring database 1 back in the cluster to be an active member and start servicing read traffic. Obviously, database 1 will be brought in as a replica, and this will be a replica in relay cluster. This goes few steps, depends on kind of how far behind database 1 was. So what happens is that we basically reestablished at the point where the database 1 was, then apply all the missing transactions to database 1, and then introduce it back to the cluster, and then connect with also with the primary cluster. Once again, automated step, took few seconds, but it not that much more. So let's try to get back into kind of a starting point. And database 1 was the primary, now it's a replica. So let's do initially a local promotion. So we'll promote database 1 as the relay primary. And this is once again reconfiguration cluster locally, and all the while when we are providing a continuous traffic to applications, so there's no, once again, hiccup, and then just to finalize the step, we can one more step here to do again switch, and this brings basically we promote the relay site now as the primary site, and we are back to starting point. I would easily challenge any other solutions out there providing this type of a high availability and disaster recovery solution, kind of an ease of process, continuous operation while all this is happening, and how fast the whole operation, all the steps are success, 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 all the steps. And please remember, all of the operations from the application point of view, servicing the customers, have continued all along. All these same steps without actually failing the database can be done for the maintenance purpose. So that we go exactly the same things that with the maintenance, but we would most likely start from the relay database, take one of the replicas and take that offline, and then do whatever update, whether it's the database upgrade, whether it's the operating system upgrade, whether it's the schema upgrade, whatever it is. We would go through the steps. First, we would do the replicas, and then we promote one of the replicas at the primary on that side, and then do the update on the remaining database on the cluster. And when we are all done, we can do the switch, and then promote that site with the updated database in action, and then doing exactly the same things on the secondary side. And all the while, once again, servicing live users of the application. All right, I hope you are impressed with the demo. This is pretty cool stuff. So, Kentucky Lottery solution, it is all about availability and continuous operation. And they have been really, really happy customer of ours for a number of years, 6-7 years by now. It's one of the check marks. One of the things that we like to promote heavily is that how good is the 24/7 support services. All of our customers are business critical or mission critical application. Many of them tens of millions, some of them hundreds of millions, and we have a few customers with billions of dollars revenue a year. In order to provide a good, stable software is critical, but having a team available to help and support customers is even more important. We claim to have the best 24/7 support services for MySQL customers, and we can back that up quite easily. Our average response time during the past 2 years across all of our customers on urgent or high request has been in minutes. For the urgent request is actually less than 3 minutes from the initial initiation of the support request. And the team replying is pretty amazing. Each of them have a 20+ years experience on MySQL. So while we are not remote MySQL database service provider, we do offer deep MySQL knowledge. And obviously our focus is supporting and servicing Tungsten cluster solution, but while at it, we also include a significant MySQL knowledge and help our customers on MySQL related issues as well. Few authentic comments from KY Lottery. This was kind of the recent discussion we had earlier this year, and their indication is that we are the best software choice that they've made in the past several years. They just got it in, got it working, and just keep going. That's what we like to do and keep doing. Support is phenomenal. It's something that something happens, it's usually self-inflicted. Not too often though, but it happens, and that's the kind of pattern we see most of our customers. There's something, maybe there was monitoring was not done right, so that the disk space filled up. There's some other issues that were done without the really thinking through, and that things happen. But we step in and help no matter what. And while they are happy with the product, they are ecstatic about the support. We love to hear all of those kind of real nice direct comments. Continuent Products. We have a few products. Tungsten Clustering is the kind of what is powering Kentucky Lottery. Tungsten Replicator, while it is significant important part of the Tungsten Clustering solution, it is also an independent solution, providing both homogeneous and heterogeneous replication services. And Tungsten Dashboard, this is the management control for the continuous solution. While it's a separate product, it's free, available, and with no added cost. Tungsten Clustering, we discussed about that. It is about continuous operation and zero downtime maintenance, but it's more. There's a geographic distributed MySQL cluster elements. A number of our customers have a global reach, and they have operation in US, Europe, and Asia Pacific. It runs on multiple environments. It is multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. Our customers run our solution in AWS, Azure, and Google. We do have also cases that where a customer has some part of the deployment on premises and some part of it in cloud. This could be operation set up for a specific reason. Maybe some of the customers data needs to be on premises, or it could be used like some of our customers do it. They deploy our solution locally, and then they have a secondary cluster in cloud, and this effectively gives them a zero downtime cloud migration path as well. And not only this, we have an excellent intelligent proxy for the retry splitting, and it does more than that, but it is kind of one of the key elements. Going deeper on these each line items, you might find it interesting and curious that we promote our support as the single most important benefit, but it is. So that yes, software is great, but having a team available that have this type of experience and minutes notice, it makes a huge difference. And while we offer uptime in months and years, we still want to be available and help if anything were to happen. And cost saving, you might find that curious as well. Commercial provider claiming to be less expensive than open source. Come to think of, and when total cost ownership is being considered, that often remains to be the case. Our pricing is non-linear, so the more software is deployed, the less unit price comes. Same applies to the need for support. And the fact that we reduce a significant DPA time spent on administration and recovery operational overall cost of the kind of managing the large scale systems. We have a customers has tens, in some cases, hundreds of clusters with the relatively small DPA team that wouldn't be possible without our type of software available, manage this and providing the continuous operation. But there are obviously kind of a real hardcore elements as well related to what our software does. We demonstrated the failover, local failover, site level failover, fail back. So this is about being able to provide continuous operation and being able to do that not only when failure hits, but also during the maintenance cycle, quite significant. If you are running a software as a service, e-commerce, financial service, telecommunication, gaming application, even sometimes something like the enterprise level development environment, the fact that you can have it available and do it kind of during normal business hours is a significant. Any 24/7, 365 online operation will benefit of this type of capabilities. Once again, geographic scaling, and this is not only for disaster recovery, it's also the being able to load balance the read operation across the multiple replicas across the world. It is an important element. And having this done in many ways in automated fashion, being able to deploy additional clusters in different environments is the relative ease. When you have everything prerequisite ready and done, our deployment process is a matter of minutes, not hours, not days, so that you can add the scale at relative ease. And being able to run in multiple environments doesn't limit you to specific provider. You don't want to be tied up in a specific type of environment or cloud provider like Amazon. You want to have ability to move from one cloud to another and do that easily. And this, even if you don't do that, having software that gives you that capability gives you a credible threat to be able to negotiate your instant prices lower. So that once again, thinking about the total cost of ownership point of view, having these type of things that they've been able to also actively impact the underlying compute instance cost is a significant benefit. The one that is not necessarily often understood. Having a intelligent MySQL proxy, being able to route the traffic, then kind of the proxy that is locally aware and globally aware, it is a significant benefit. In this case, our proxy, Tungsten proxy, not only provides this kind of a traffic cop guidance, but it also actively communicates with underlying cluster manager and replicator. And so, you know, if there is a failure, Tungsten manager sends the information to MySQL proxy about it and stopping the traffic for a while manager is working the reorganizing the database cluster. And then when manager indicates that the traffic can be continued, all this while, basically proxy kept all the connectivity and connections live and open. And then it's just to re-establish that the update traffic to new primary database and re-traffic the remaining available replicas. And then Tungsten replicator, let's discuss about that separately as we have a couple long slides, but this is not only tool to power our cluster, but it's also tool to feed various analytical and big data and reporting environments. So you have actually real-time data feed into analytics. One last item. This is MySQL. You can use MySQL any version you want. You can use MariaDB. You can use Percona server. This is not a MySQL compatible solution. It is a fully compliant MySQL solution. And it does not require any changes in the application, so that you can be trusted that whatever direction you take, you can switch between the various MySQL versions and variations. Obviously, we recommend that the single cluster has all the same versions, otherwise that there will be unintended elements and consequences. But then if you want to migrate from one environment to the other, that's once again really easy. Highly secure environment. This is all the traffic is encrypted in flight, and there's also the disk level encryption capability available. And so when you have an existing MySQL application feeding whatever system you have, you can expect us to be able to come in, add Tungsten cluster solution on top of that and work just like that. Oh, going wrong direction, sorry. Let's go forward. Tungsten replicator, as indicated, it is a high performance replication engine, and it allows you to extract data from different MySQL variables, including the Aurora and Google Cloud SQL and Microsoft SQL, including MariaDB, MySQL, and Percona, and feed in real time into different target databases, whether this being, for example, Redshift, Vertica, Hadoop, Kafka, and a number of others. So this is a highly powerful tool. When combined, highly available database backend and then being able to feed in real-time analytics, it creates a kind of attractive combination. Replicator is available as an on-premises and cloud deployment, and also as an AMI in Amazon Marketplace. By the way, my Tungsten cluster is also available at Amazon Marketplace as an AMI, although most of our customers do deploy them with our help locally or in the cloud without using AMIs. And then you already saw Tungsten dashboard earlier, so that should be pretty familiar with the capabilities. Actually, we didn't show a lot. There's more. We have a Prometheus integration, so that you have a lot of monitoring capabilities. It's the kind of just the cluster state level capability monitoring it, but also the database performance monitoring. You can actually take existing templates and use those with our own Prometheus engine available within Tungsten dashboard. Question. We are not going to do actually poll today, but this is something that please let us know if you are actively investigating MySQL availability solution. I'm happy to help. If you already have something in place but you are not quite happy, just to be happy to step in. We actually have a competitive upgrade program for anybody who's already have deployed something its ADR needs, and would be interested looking. That includes 6 months free subscription, our software and support, and we are able to provide you overall pretty attractive commercial terms. If you have a solution in place and you are happy with it, great. So just keep using it. So if you may want to take a closer look, the fact that we can do this type of failovers and both local and global at the relative ease and reduce your workload. And if you have a significant database backend and any issues around that area, you may want to take a second look on us. But if you're happy, great. Just to keep using what you have. And then if this is something in the future, great as well. We have a lot of information on our website. You can look into and learn more. There's extensive use case webinars. This is the 9th of them, so you get the idea of who is using and how they're using it. We have an extensive training material, training videos, going deep dive in our software. So if you would like to do that, great. Just keep educating yourself. So a couple of words about us. Yes, we've been around since 2004, and actually a couple of years earlier, we started to kind of work into this direction. US operation started 2004. We have almost no sales and marketing people. We have a team of experts in data replication, database connectivity, and database cluster management. So this is all what we do and what we focus on. And the people we have in team, they have typically MySQL or Oracle or some other database DBA experience. They also have site reliability experience running operation for the large enterprises or software as a service entities. So we know the kind of a whole conceptually what issues our customers are experiencing, and we can help them from the point of knowledge of the database, deep database knowledge, but also really deep understanding our own technology and solution. And as indicated, pretty amazing, less than 3 minutes response time. Any day of the year, across the geographic boundaries, this has been consistently, actually we are closer to 2.5-minute response time, but it's just pushing the envelope there as much as we can. But the main point is that yes, we are available, and the one who will reply to you is not just frontline call center person. It actually is highly knowledgeable, world-class database engineer to help you then and there. And we will remain helping you as long as needed until you are back where you want it to be. We have a number of well-known customers. Average time these customers have been with us is over 7 years. So we expect that when a new customer joins us, it's a multi-year engagement. So please consider that point of view as well. That's how we want to approach things. We are not looking for the quick kill. We are going to establish a long-term relationship with our customers. And we have effectively 100% satisfaction rate, and we have amazing renewal rates. And we keep continue increasing the footprint on MySQL Marketplace, MySQL HADR solution, and effective geoscale solution. We covered this already, so that the satisfaction is high, renewal rate is high, response time is amazingly short. Customers stick with us a number of years. We've been in availability, MySQL availability business almost 20 years, and this is what we are good at, what we keep doing it. 70% of our customers are software as a service providers, a number of e-commerce, finance, telco, online gaming customers. We do have enterprise customers as well, using for enterprise applications, but it typically is some sort of an online application that requires continuous operation. As a side note, yeah, we were acquired by VMware back in 2014. So you may wonder what happened there. So VMware was looking in MySQL Marketplace, concluded that Continuent has the best technology and best team to build the database as a service solution for vCloud Air. This vCloud Air was supposed to be a competing cloud against the AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. Subsequently, VMware decided that instead of competing with the cloud providers, they are better off adding value-add elements on top of the existing cloud vendors. At that point, whatever we were bringing to VMware no longer was valid, and we decided to break away and re-establish continuous and independent entity back in 2016. So we are a small startup, effectively, in many ways, with a long history, great product, great team. And we've been building our solutions steadily since then, version 5, 2017, version 6, 2018, version 7 is coming 2021. And obviously, while most of our customers are already running in the cloud, their deployments, we do also see that we can increase the service level of our solution. And this is what effectively what we call Tungsten Cloud, is providing better provisioning capability, better monitoring capability, and more automated managed database as a service type of a solution. So in many ways, we do that already, but we can increase the automation level a little bit and then call it as a cloud, native cloud solution. All right. That was the presentation today. So any questions, comments? JJ?
Yeah, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them now by using the Q&A section of your control panel. You should see it showing up. So if you do have questions, feel free to use that functionality, and we'll answer your questions then. There was one question earlier, Eero, that came up when you talked about AWS Aurora, and to ask whether you could just go into a bit more detail about how tungsten clustering compares to that, and why someone should be interested in that solution.
Sure. Yeah, AWS Aurora is definitely an excellent solution on multiple levels. There is the caveats, though. It kind of depends on what is its solution for. If it's been able to easily deploy highly available databases for the, for example, DevOps environment, yeah, great. It actually works pretty well. Have to remember though is that it is not MySQL. It's MySQL compatible. It does not have a MySQL 8.0 feature set. It has some limitations on the 5.7 feature set, and so it's always going to be somewhat behind. Whether you need those new features or not, that may dictate the interest on the cloud. And Aurora is obviously AWS specific solution, whereas the Continuent is the multi-cloud and hybrid cloud solution. So that if you are happy with AWS and you stick with that, and you're willing to pay the premium for the services and suffer through the limited support available, once again, great. You may want to keep using it. When the real separation comes is that when we start looking these at the disaster recovery and global scaling, that's where the AWS Aurora falls behind significantly. You can't really deploy a global backend solution. I'll take an example of one of our customers at Riot Games, which has the primary cluster in US West, and then 3 other clusters in US East, Europe, and Asia Pacific, catering the player account management for some 300 million game players worldwide. Not doable with the Aurora, but relatively easy solution to deploy, install using Tungsten Cluster. So anytime when you want to provide them over global separation, obviously support is significant element of our solution as indicated earlier, and that's definitely lacking, and it's a kind of black box. Aurora, and you may not find easily that if there is a failure, how to recover from that. Maintenance windows with Aurora are real. There is no zero downtime maintenance operation, so you actually have to counter that with your application and assume that your business is down maybe a significant period of time. So there's a host of things. We have a nice presentation about these issues specifically on our website and part of our competitive upgrade. And there's also kind of a feature level comparison that kind of gives you more details about what's what.
Great, thanks, thanks, Eero. I don't see any other questions for the moment, but do feel free to ask them if you still have some. And maybe, Eero, do you want to use the time then to for some closing words then for now?
Sure. Thank you, those who joined today and those 8 other use case webinars that we just had over the past couple of months. You can find all of those webinars on our website. They're actually pretty enlightening use cases, different variations of the same, but it all boils down about availability and continuous operation, and then there's various levels of scaling. We do offer single cluster solution with architecture and software as a service providers. We have active passive type of cluster deployments for the more DR setup. And then we have active cluster deployments for the being able to truly expand the solution and globally and higher performance. Also not only the read performance scaling, but also the update performance scaling. So go on our website, continuent.com, and take a look. You might find it interesting. Thank you, everybody. Today actually is not September 9th. It looks like I forgot to change the date. Today is November 11th, but have a happy rest of your day. Thank you.